Welcome back to the Black Hole of Real Estate for industry news, topics, strategies, and investment opportunities with your host, Ron Wojciechowski. All right, welcome back. We are ready for episode 16, and I got to be honest with you right now, I am wondering if there is anything that can be done to stop this market. Sales are booming in the month of July. I can tell you from personal experience, we put 15 properties under contract in the first 15 days of July, and buyers are absolutely unimpressed by all the stuff that's going on and the warning signs, if you will, surrounding COVID, pricing bubbles, and opportunities. The pent-up demand continues to help this market surge in ways that maybe some didn't feel were possible. We had predicted that buyers would be back. And last week we talked about them being back with a vengeance in the condo space. And if anything, we see even more acceleration in the single-family home space. It's almost like they're ignoring all the warning signs of COVID. And it doesn't mean that they're not doing social distancing and being safe. But as far as the fear, which is prevalent in our society right now, it does not appear that people are afraid to buy real estate. You know, speaking from personal experience, I just bought a beach house. If I thought for a minute that the property values were going to tank, pretty sure I'm not doing that. So what's causing the sales to surge? Well, it looked no further than the banking news this week. J.P. Morgan Chase had record profits, and while a couple of the banks were neutral or a little bit off, the common denominator is that interest rates reached a 50-year low. We saw rates this week in the twos. Now go figure, we thought when rates were 4 or 3%, even over the past couple of years, we'd never see it again and rates would jump forward. The fact is we got twos this week. Now, I don't even know what a 2% interest rate looks like, except for that it's got a 2 in front of it, and it's super exciting as a consumer. So I may be looking to make more investments because money, it's just cheap. And you could do so much with a fixed 30-year mortgage at 2%. It's likely to be something that we'll look back at in times that was the opportunity. It has been the way for a few years. Now, the inventory continues to be low, and this is what's really driving prices. We had a property that went under contract in this market at, 7 offers, 24 hours, all of them at or above the asking price, and it was priced appropriately. So that's a telltale sign of the market. And the buyers, they're not worried about that extra few $1,000s because the rates are so low, it barely moves the needle on pricing for them in the form of a monthly payment. They're willing to pay it. And chances are, as a consumer that's buying a house, you're most likely making the least amount of money you're going to make over the next 30 years. So as that mortgage payment stays relatively flat over the next 30 years and income goes up, there'll be that separation, that opportunity for wealth, which is what most consumers are looking at right now. Wealth building in the real estate space is critical because, let's face it, 401ks and pension plans, they may be, suffering in the years to come. Now, we hope that they're all there. We hope that the government provides Social Security, but we just don't know. So buying that first house or second house and keeping them in a portfolio is an absolutely proven wealth building strategy over time to help offset the costs of what would you call retirement, taking some time off from work. Maybe like for 10, 20, 30 years. It's not sustainable. People, used to retire and they would live on a few years after, but now they're living into their 80s and 90s. I'm not sure that the retirement system was ever set up for someone to actually be retired for 20 or 25 years. And that brings us back to the real estate space. It's surging. Rates are at an all-time low. And buyers are looking not just for the move up, but also for the renovation and investment piece. We've experienced a number of flippers coming to us, and they're asking, how do we get these properties sold? It's the marketing piece and how they get in front of it. There's always renovation costs with any project, and even the flippers are struggling right now to find inventory. Now, where's it going to come from? If a flipper that's trained to go find deals, to build in renovation costs and then resell them at a profit, if they're struggling to find inventory, what chance does the average consumer have? Well, partnering with a great agent and using all the tools that are available certainly are one way to identify properties quickly. And having your money ready has never been more important. So if you're getting pre-qualified, fantastic. If you got cash in the bank, even better. But where do you source those properties? Well, a lot of people go to Zillow or places like that. Great websites identify a lot of properties and great mapping tools and all kinds of data. But it's just data. And you still need some help from a local professional to take advantage of that data. Something like Zillow has never been in a home. It's a computer program. It's an algorithm. They don't step inside of houses. They don't identify key features or renovation opportunities or perhaps things like mold or leaky roofs. They just don't see it. They see data. They see averages and recent sales, and they formulate what they believe is a value for a property, and then they move forward with telling you that, hey, this property in this neighborhood is worth $250. Well, it may or may not be. So the first step is to identify the properties that you want. The second step is to get in touch with a real estate professional to make sure that those are true numbers. And are those properties even available? Just because it's online on a place like Zillow or Realtor.com doesn't necessarily mean it's actually active and for sale. And that's, good God, that's a whole other story. But to keep it succinct right now, I would just say that use those data online tools to find properties and then get with your real estate professional and verify that those are actually available for sale. Now, what, if anything, can stop this market? Well, I don't know that it's COVID, because right now COVID is not proving it. We're 3-4 months into all forms of lockdowns, and we've had political unrest and social unrest, and homes keep selling. So I don't know what's going to stop this market. But what could pause it? Yeah, absolute lockdown, pandemic, sure. Except for we got through that. I believe the one thing that could slow this market down is a dramatic influx of inventory. And let me explain what that means. Right now, a buyer has limited options. And if you're a seller, if you're not on the market right now and you're thinking of selling, this is probably the best opportunity you've had in the last couple of years as far as getting the price that you want. And for the foreseeable future, this is a time you can win for the next few months. As a buyer, you're under pressure. A home comes on the market, we know that it's going to get multiple showings. And if it's priced right, probably multiple offers, and yes, even some over the asking price, because the sellers know that you're getting a great deal on the interest rate and there's not much to choose from. They're at the advantage position right now. So as a consumer, should inventory spike? And let's just suggest that, what about the hedge funds? No one's talking about that. Maybe the hedge funds are looking to cash in a little bit. They got in the business, 10 years ago. They were going to buy those properties and resell them. They ended up renting. They had no idea how much money they'd make in the rental market. But like most things, you look for a 1% return on investment. And what does that mean? If you bought a home for $200,000, you look for $2,000 in rent. The sweet spot might be $100,000 property getting $1,000 in rent, or maybe even a $150 getting $1,500 in rent. But you lose scale at $200, and at $250, you're not likely to find a $2,500 a month rent. And a lot of those properties that hedge funds bought in the $100 to $150 range are now in the $200 to $250 range from 10 years ago. It might be a good time for the hedge funds, let alone individual investors, to sell off some of that inventory and see if there's an opportunity for a dip or to buy back into lower price points that scale in the 1% rule just a little bit better. So if there's a place that inventory might be coming from, it might be the hedge funds taking some risk off the table and acquiring cash for future opportunities. Commercial space is absolutely suffering right now, and that could be the biggest area of risk. So if a hedge fund has thousands of properties that are single-family homes that have greatly appreciated in value, and they were looking to take some risk off the table and to put some cash off to the side, some dry powder, so to speak, wouldn't it make sense to sell off some of those single-family properties, have some cash on the side, so if commercial, which is already suffering, starts to see some sales that are less than market value or dramatically less, I think there's some opportunity in commercial space over the next 6 months. And if I had a lot of property in single-family home space that had matured and had a ton of equity, I might be looking to sell some of it off at what could be the top of the real estate market and have that cash available for when the opportunities come. I don't think the space of single-family homes and condos is going to be the place where that big opportunity of investment is going to be. I think it's in commercial. I feel pretty strongly about that, actually. So if you are noticing that you've got properties and you're a little bit nervous about selling in a COVID environment, I get it. But is there a way that that property could be vacant or you could be onto your next space? You see, it is entirely possible for many people to purchase a property without selling the one they're living in. And I check with your banker about that, especially with 2% rates. They're just going to look and see what your current income is and can you afford 2 mortgage payments? That's all it is. If you can afford 2 mortgage payments, you can absolutely buy the next property, move in, and then put your property on the market. You could leverage both opportunities by being aggressive and buying the property right now, doing any renovations, moving into that new property, then cleaning up the old property and maximizing that return for when you go to sell that one. And if it's vacant, you're going to likely get multiple offers in a quick cash sale or 30, 45 days with a lender, which is still great. The inventory, I don't see how it could spike that quickly unless a hedge fund or something huge started dumping a lot of property at the same time. And while we don't expect it, isn't that what markets are? We prepare for the expected. Well, maybe the unexpected might happen. And if that's the case, and let's face it, a lot of people are noticing that it's a great time to sell. Maybe it's the hedge funds. Maybe it's the banks that jump into that space or institutional investors taking some money off the table to get ready for that next big opportunity. Most people don't think it's a stock market. They think it's real estate. And that's what we're looking at over the next couple of months is where does the inventory come from? Because quite honestly, it's probably the only thing that could slow down this market is more inventory. And for a time, it'll probably accelerate things. More inventory, more satisfied buyers. This is going to run for a while. But if you're looking down the road, that might be the place where it levels out between, right now it's a seller's market. And if you want to see it balance out to the buyers, there's got to be inventory. There's likely an increase in interest rates that has that occurring. But right now the Fed is not looking to raise the interest rates. It's got to come from an inventory space of an institutional investor, or this market just runs and it continues to be a seller's market. So if you're thinking of selling, reach out to a local professional, find out what your home is worth in this market, and then measure that opportunity. I have to think that most people are not aware that they can purchase another home while they have a mortgage. And while you may not want 2 mortgages, you may only have a double payment for a month or 2. And that would be worth making that big investment and taking that chance to leverage this market. Hey, if you like what you're hearing right now, subscribe, click. Let us know in the comments what you feel about this. Maybe you disagree with us, and that's okay. We'll talk about that next week. It's Ron Wojciechowski for the Black Hole of Real Estate.